Tomorrow, Rite of the Nine is dropping in Destiny 2. This is the big content update that's going to help bridge the gap between now and the next expansion, The Edge of Fate, which is going to be launching this summer. So think of Rite of the Nine as somewhat similar to the Into the Light update that we received last year. This time around, though, we're going to be receiving refreshes to a few of our dungeons. Alongside new shiny variations of some of our dungeon loots, we're also going to be receiving a new PvP game mode and a ton of Sandbox tuning. So let's jump in. Starting with number 1, Rite of Nine. This is a new event that is revamping 3 fan-favorite dungeons: Prophecy, Ghost of the Deep, and Spire of the Watcher. Now, 2 of these dungeons are normally paid for content, but this event is going to be completely free to all players, which means, at least for a limited time, all players will get to experience all 3 of these dungeons. Now, Bungie is also making this event approachable to all players with 3 different difficulties. For new players, or maybe those that don't typically engage with dungeons, there's going to be something called Explore Mode. This is a way to learn these dungeons with various ways, such as in-game tooltips that will pop up and actually teach you the mechanics. In traversal sections, there will be waypoint markers showing the direction to go. Darkness phases have been removed and revive timers reduced. There's even going to be a shepherding mechanic where once you get about halfway through a traversal area, you can spawn additional platforms that can help your struggling teammates. Now, the second difficulty is Eternity Mode, which is pretty similar to our standard dungeon experience. And then lastly, there is Ultimatum Mode. This is catered towards in-game players. This difficulty is said to be power level equivalent to contest mode, along with additional modifiers such as Not Swap, which will be active. Now, for both Eternity and Ultimatum modes, these will be scored per encounter based on the amount of deaths your team have, meaning the less deaths that you have, the better loot you will receive, which is kind of wild. It's not just about completing the encounter, but how conservative you are when completing these encounters. Which takes us to number 2, shiny weapons. Edge of Fate is going to have its own version of shiny weapons. 12 total, with 4 weapons per dungeon. For Prophecy, we have the Prosecutor Auto Rifle, Relentless Pulse Rifle, the Judgment Hand Cannon, and the Sudden Death Shotgun. For Spire of the Watcher, we've got the Wilder Flight Grenade Launcher, Long Arm Scout Rifle, Liminal Vigil Sidearm, and Terminus Horizon Machine Gun. And then lastly, from Ghost of the Deep, there's the New Pacific Epitaph Grenade Launcher, the No Survivors SMG, the Greasy Luck Glaive, and the Cold Comfort Rocket Launcher. Now, to set this loot apart from the standard dungeon loots, these versions will be receiving refreshes to their perk tables, along with a new origin trait called Gravity Well, which reads, reloading this weapon automatically gathers nearby ammo. Now, I mentioned that there's going to be a shiny version of each of these weapons, and that comes from the Adept versions, which can be earned from the Ultimatum difficulty. This is the first time that we'll have Adept dungeon weapons, which is exciting in itself, but these are going to have double traits, exclusive shiny animated ornaments, and I also don't know if they're going to have a secondary origin trait or not, as if you look at our shiny variants of our weapons in Heresy, these weapons all have Runneth Over as their secondary origin trait, which let me just say makes all the difference when it comes to our god rolls. Which takes us to change number 3, guys, other new rewards. Along with our revamped dungeon weapons, we're going to be getting 3 new weapons that's going to be joining our Iron Banner, Trials of Osiris, and Nightfall loot tables. Iron Banner is set to receive Nature Reclaimed, which is a solar lightweight scout rifle with notable perks like Hill Clip and Lone Wolf in that 3rd column, as well as Shoot to Loot, alongside Incandescent, Precision Instrument, and Explosive Payload in that 4th column. Trials of Osiris is also set to see the return of the Inquisitor, which is an Arc Slug shotgun. In column 3, it can roll with perks like Lone Wolf, Offhand Strike, as well as Slide Shot. And then in column 4, it's got Closing Time, Opening Shot, as well as Jolting Feedback. And then lastly, Nightfalls will be receiving Cruel Mercy, which is an Arc Heavy Burst Pulse Rifle. From column 3, this has perks like Dragonfly, Eddy Current, Keep Away, and Lone Wolf. And then in column 4, we have Jolting Feedback, Headseeker, Kill Clip, and Desperado. Now, Nature Reclaim can be earned normally as an end-of-match reward or from Ingrams the next time Iron Banner rolls around, which will be May the 20th. But for Inquisitor and Cruel Mercy, Bungie is doing something different. These weapons will drop as additional rewards when finishing Trials or Nightfalls, which includes their Adept counterparts. Meaning on May the 13th, when Trials is back, Aisha's Care will be the Adept reward for that week. And if you get a drop, you'll also be receiving an extra drop of an Adept Inquisitor. And then the same thing for Nightfalls. If you're farming for an Adept Lotus Eater the week of May the 6th, each drop will also come with an Adept Cruel Mercy. This is the first time we've seen some overlap here between these activities, and who knows, if this is received well, guys, this may become a permanent thing in the future. Change number 4. Rifle, Heavy Metal, and Event Home tab. Now, a few days after Rite of the 9 begins, on May the 9th, we're going to be receiving another special event. This one all about the new PvP game mode called Heavy Metal. Now, for those unaware, Heavy Metal is literally going to let us pilot tanks and brigs and allow us to battle it out. Essentially, tanks versus brigs. Now, I know PvP isn't for everyone, but this is just supposed to be a fun game mode. It's not a competitive one. And to spice things up a bit more, this will be receiving its own event with the debut of the Event Home tab, which is what's going to be replacing event cards, as well as the rewards that you can earn with it. This will also be free to all players. That's right, the event card, guys, is dead. Now, the Event Home will be the main hub for everything event related. You can launch right into the activity, you can quickly travel to the vendor, and even view your event related quests. Now, in another tab, you have your daily and weekly challenges, which provide an event specific currency to be spent on exclusive event shop rewards. And there's even a mini event battle pass for even more rewards. Again, these are all free now. No more cosmetics that are locked behind event cards. As long as you play enough and engage with the event, you can unlock everything. Change number 5, weapon sandbox changes. It wouldn't be an update to Destiny without some sandbox changes, guys. And first up, we got some weapon and perk changes to go over. The legacy frame found on Redrick's E-Stock and the BXR Battler is seeing a nerf due to high usage of these weapons over the course of Heresy. Now, this legacy frame now reduces ADS damage fall of scalar by 0.1, which means these two weapons and their ADS damage fall of scalar is going from 1.7 to 1.6, which will match that of high impact pulse rifles. Additionally, the BXR Battler is receiving a slight AE bump from 10 to 21 since it does fall behind Redrick's a bit. Now, dealing with this frame is a two-part effort from Bungie, as they're also going to be buffing some other weapon archetypes. You've got rapid fire pulse rifles, which are seeing their base damage being increased as well as their precision damage. I personally love rapid fire pulse rifles. Bungie, this would be a perfect opportunity to give us Clever Dragon again. Heavy burst hand cannons are also seeing a range increase. The Judgment adaptive hand cannon itself is receiving some stat bumps, most notably because it's going to be dropping from Prophecy, and both high impact and precision auto rifles are getting some pretty crazy buffs, especially high impacts. On top of that, adaptive SMGs are getting a small range bump, and heavy burst shotguns are getting an 8% increase in damage. There's also some buffs going out to our origin traits, but TLDR in this one, guys, the meta should be shifting this week, and depending on the overlap, we could have some exotics that are really popping off. Think about it. You've got things like Sweet Business, which is actually considered a high impact auto rifle. That gets this buff, we could be seeing ourselves a Sweet Business meta. Vex Mythoclast, which I know is technically a fusion rifle, shoots like an auto rifle. And there have been times in the past where we've had overlap in buffs where auto rifle buffs have actually fallen into the lane of Vex Mythoclast. This is why we do pre and post testing, guys, and we'll be seeing what this looks like post update. Now, change number 6, ability changes. In terms of abilities, a lot of these changes are PvP focused, but there are a few that will be affected globally. Starting with Crucible only changes, Bungie has slightly reduced the prismatic specific super cooldown penalties that was implemented a few months ago from 10 to now 5%. Scatter grenade damage is also being reduced against players by 15%. Still don't know why that's the case. Yes, it gets kills, but it's not like overwhelmingly powerful, but just my opinion. Now, the void aspect on the Prowl, which was brought to us in Heresy, is getting a pretty substantial nerf. Its prey finding range is going from 45 meters down to 25 meters, and the hunt time is being reduced from being infinite down to just 15 seconds. Now, for my warlocks out there, the lightning surge aspect is seeing a clamp down on variability of its damage against players, and the minimum damage being dealt is being increased slightly to offset the maximum damage being reduced. Now, for global ability changes, Hunter's Withering Blade melee is seeing its tracking strength increase by 20% and its damage increase by 10%. All throwing knife melees will be seeing an issue fix that caused them not to track properly, alongside lightweight knives getting a buff to its tracking and its tracking strength. Phantom knives is also seeing a similar buff. Now, if you're upset about On the Prowl, don't worry, Bungie is giving it a separate global buff. The prey finding cooldown is being reduced from 0.5 seconds to 0.1 seconds, and the ability energy will now be granted instantly instead of over time. Then finally, a global buff is going out for Lightning Surge. Bungie has slightly increased the follow-up melee suppression time after Lightning Surge to match Shoulder Charge and other similar abilities. Now, again, this is going to be one of those that we have to pre and post test on. Shoulder Charge, in my opinion, is garbage. Bungie messed with the hit registration, and since then, dude, you could be point blank looking at an enemy and you'll shoulder charge right past them. Lightning Surge doesn't have that problem because you're just trying to tag up some damage and not make direct contact. Either way it goes though, we'll be looking at these in much detail post update. Now, change number 7. If you couldn't tell by now, guys, this is essentially a seasonal update to our sandbox, which means we've got exotic armor and weapon changes. Lord of Wolves is finally receiving its nerf. Its hipfire damage is being reduced in PvE by 30%, 100%. We figured this was going to happen, and it's finally happening now. Now, Risk Runner, after falling behind for so long in PvP, is seeing a zoom increase from 13 to 14. I don't know if this is going to really move the needle, but we'll see. Truth and Two-Tailed Fox are receiving a very interesting PvP change, as they will now receive 2 ammo in PvP when picking up from a heavy ammo crate. Alandaneum is seeing a change where creating a special brick now only costs 50% energy. That way, if you wanted to create 2 special bricks when at 100% energy, you can so now. Finality's Augur, which is one of my favorite exotics in the game, is receiving a ton of changes, including an increase in its duration that a target is painted to match the duration of the turret. The environmental target marker now marks additional targets. It'll now grant an automatic reload from reserves after deploying the turret, and the turret's self-damage has been reduced by 85%, and the turret's damage has been increased by 10%. A very good change to this exotic. Now moving over to exotic armor. Not too much shifting here, guys. Radiant Dance Machines is receiving another nerf, mainly for mouse and keyboard users. Bungie is also reducing the bonuses granted to primary weapons when hip firing, aligning the hip fire bonuses to range and accuracy with the values granted by the hip fire grip perk instead of the legacy frame intrinsic. Now this results in a 60% reduction in accuracy bonus and a 60% reduction in the aim assist fall off bonus. And they've also reduced the accuracy bonus for the custom tuned exotic weapons, which does include last word by an additional 25%. Bungie's also nerfing the amount of class ability energy that you get back. Now to make up for this, Titans and Warlocks are actually receiving some bonuses similar to Radiant Dance Machines. Lion Rampants, for instance, are receiving an accuracy and range hipfire bonus for primary ammo weapons only. On top of that, these bonuses will always be active, not just when airborne. And what's even better is that these bonuses exist when aiming down sights. Then for Warlock, Lunafaction Boots are receiving these accuracy and range hipfire bonuses, which will always be active, not just when in a rift. Which takes us to our final change, New Land Beyond. Now this is the final point heading into leak territory, but it was leaked a few months ago that the exotic sniper rifle No Land Beyond would be returning to Destiny 2, this time called New Land Beyond. Now it's supposed to be a pre-order bonus for Edge of Fate, which I think means we could potentially be getting this exotic as early as tomorrow, right after Bungie's reveal stream. For some details on the weapon, it's supposed to be a special weapon this time around, which does make sense, as a primary ammo sniper rifle would be pretty broken. For perks though, we have the Master, which seems to work pretty similar to its D1 counterpart. It resets scoring precision hits, increases this weapon's damage until the wielder's defeat. It also has Bullseye's Bolster, which states that landing and precision hits substantially increases this weapon's target acquisition, its handling, reload speed, and stability for a short duration of time. Now, leaks also suggest that the weapon will get around an 80% damage buff at 24 stacks of the Master perk. On top of that, the buff name changes to the Grandmaster at 20 stacks, which is quite a nice touch. This weapon was an absolute demon during Destiny 1's PvP, mainly because it only used primary ammo, which meant people could just use it for as much as they want. But I love the PvE elements this time around with this sniper rifle. It's a good chance, guys, pre-orders are gonna roll out as early as tomorrow, which means, yes, we should be able to get our hands on this exotic and take a look at how it does. And who knows, it might just be a monster inside of the upcoming dungeons. Well, guys, those are your top changes going into Rite of the Nights. If you want to see everything for yourself, we'll be live tomorrow watching some lore videos leading up to the reveal. And if you want to check out our video here recently that we put out about the chest ARG, we just essentially give an overview of everything that's led up to this point. We'll link that one down below. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.